Hi, it's me, and this is built from scratch on the 28th of August 2020. So, going over what we did yesterday. The first thing that I did was that I got an email from Authority Hacker, the affiliate marketing training outfit that I've mentioned before. They were sending me an email of their latest bit of output, something to do with SEO, I forget what now. They put at the bottom of it a request for people to write back to them and tell them what they think of their new format of long form emails. So I decided to write back saying essentially that I liked it and just making a suggestion of how they might organise the content on their website. I then took the opportunity to ask them a question, because I noticed that on their previous podcasts, they had added transcription, like I'm doing, for the first 49 of their podcast episodes, and then they'd stopped. So I was interested to know why they'd done that. I got an email back from a team member, rather than one of the two guys that actually makes the podcast, saying that there hadn't been much demand for it, which is kind of vague. I mean, sorry, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that he replied and had a go at answering the question, but it was kind of annoyingly vague in that that doesn't really tell me anything if he doesn't even mention the way that they assessed demand. Like, for example, if they'd done that via analytics and they'd been shown 0 people landing on any of those landing pages for any phrase aside from maybe the name of that podcast, or perhaps something with the word podcast in it. So in other words, if there were no people at all landing there due to any of the long tail keywords present in the transcription, then I guess you could, draw quite a strong conclusion that there is no demand for it and therefore stop doing it. But then there are other ways that you could have drawn the conclusion that there was no demand for it, which may or may not have been correct, or it's not really about being correct. It would have made a difference to how much not much demand means, because it could mean anything from 0 people looking at it through to maybe hundreds or maybe even thousands of people a month looking at it. Some companies, some people might consider that not much demand. So that was frustrating, because transcription is the one part of this process that I'm fairly unsure of the value of. So getting some kind of thoughts on that would have been really useful. But hey, never mind. A little bit of feedback is better than nothing. And I will continue stalking Authority Hacker until I actually get a contact from Gail or Mark. What next? Oh yeah, I got an emails from Google and Apple saying that the podcast had been approved and was live on both of their platforms, which is great. I did then check Google Podcasts and I couldn't actually find it. But then I checked iTunes and it was there. And iTunes at this time, I believe, is still by some distance the most important platform to get on in terms of syndication and listenership. So that was good to see. And I assume it will be on Google Podcasts. Maybe they do some kind of sandboxing thing like they do with websites. So for whatever reason, you can't get found straight after they say that you've gone live. I'll have another little check in a few weeks maybe. So I then happened to notice in Ahrefs dashboard, when I was just having a quick check of the site, that both Wave to the and the side project that I set up a few weeks ago have increased their Ahrefs site health number significantly since I last checked, which was a few days ago. By significant, I mean they've both moved from, I think it was one score in the high 70s, low 80s, to one score in the high 80s and one in the low 90s. And the only thing that's changed there is that I've signed both of them up to Cloudflare, which is the CDN, content delivery network provider. I have signed them both up just on the free account that they do, which is fairly limited functionality compared to what you're paying for if you go for one of the paid options. But it still delivers the fundamental functionality of a content delivery network, which is that your website essentially gets duplicated across servers geographically distributed throughout the world, which means that if you're downloading a web page in America, you're going to be getting it from a server in America rather than somewhere on the other side of the world, which it kind of surprised me, to be honest, when I heard about CDNs for the first time, because in my fairly non-technical head, communications between computers kind of move at the speed of light in my imagination, and it doesn't really matter whether they're on a server down the road or thousands of miles away. But clearly that's not actually the case, and it does make a difference. And since Google, I think it's widely accepted, if not known as a fact, that Google take into account the speed at which a site loads as one of their ranking factors, it is reasonably important that you make optimizations to ensure that your site downloads quickly. I mean, just as a brief aside to that, I've definitely come across people, both in real life and in terms of people writing stuff and creating content online, who seem to think that site speed is almost the be-all and end-all of SEO, and it's clearly not. You could debate how important it is. Personally, my opinion is that I think it's probably really quite a small percentage of how Google determine ranking. But the point is, it's definitely part of the algorithm, and using something like Cloudflare is a very easy way of taking a large stride towards speed optimization. They also provide some kind of extra security, including to a limited extent on the free plan. I have to say that's not something I've had the time to look into at all, and at the moment it's not really enough of a priority to understand it. So I just know that it exists, and maybe one day I'll find out what that is all about, what kind of security Cloudflare provide. I mean, I think for now I'm confident that I have adequate security just by backing up the website, basically. So that'll do for now. So aside from those things, the main job yesterday was just a further continuation of the bulk processing process. Specifically, I decided that I would take the title of each piece of content from the list of generic how to business titles that I generated a couple of days ago. I assume I mentioned that. I'm sure I did. Until that list is completely used up of decent key phrases, which I think is in the region of about 100 to 150 episodes worth. I've made that decision, which is contrary to what I've been saying and thinking about for the last 2 or 3 days, which was kind of more along the lines of dynamically. Computer's just made a noise at me. I hope that wasn't something shutting down. I've been saying that I would dynamically create titles and just draw on that list if I couldn't find something suitable for a particular piece of content. But I've changed my mind, partly because taking things off that list will be quick. There'll be no logging into Ahrefs, thinking up a keyword, checking through a list. It will literally just be take the next generic name off that list. And this process, I appreciate it has taken a long time to get this far with, but when it's finished, which will be really soon now, it will actually be a quick process to run through, and this will aid it. It's also, though, because they those generic titles, they actually are quite good titles for this early stage. They are reasonably sensible, reasonably high volume titles. And when I say sensible, they are an okay match for what I'm talking about. Because at this stage I feel like I'm just doing a lot of tasks to do with the setting up of an online business. So if I'm using titles like how to build a business, how to set up an online business, that is fairly suitable. Whereas a few weeks from now, I'm anticipating that I'll be diving more into specific technical tasks to do with the writing and publishing of content for potentially days at a time. So generic business titles won't work as well for that. Which makes me think, actually, if I reckon I've got about 150 episodes worth of generic titles, I may have to change this plan again a few weeks from now, because I won't have gone through 100. And at that point, I will need to get a new list, or, well, no, forget lists, actually. I might then have to go into sort of dynamic content title creation according to what I'm talking about on the particular day. Yes, so that's the reason for that. I decided to make title and description the same across all platforms. Yeah, so again, this is just a small kind of speed optimization for this content creation process. What this is about is every place that you add a bit of content, you can be pretty sure that there are going to be two fields you're going to need to fill out across all of them, which are going to be the title and the description. It's kind of difficult to imagine, really, any kind of platform that delivers content that doesn't want a title for that piece of content, and 99% of the time a brief description for it too. So what you should do if you were trying to write those titles and descriptions for maximum impact, maximum click-through rate, is to tailor it to every platform. So literally one piece of content, if you're putting it on YouTube, your own website, podcasting, potentially podcasting on different platforms that themselves have different requirements, you could easily end up with 5, 10, maybe more different titles and descriptions optimized for the platforms that they're being placed on. That would be great, and that is what you should do if you've got the time and resources to do it, but I really don't. So what I've decided to do is figure out which of the limitations on length of title and description, which of the platforms has the lowest limitations with regards to those things, and create title and description for that platform, and then just copy and paste to the rest of them, and deal with the fact that I'm not going to be using up character counts on the platforms that allow for more input. I think I'm right in saying that the platform with the tightest limits is going to be the meta title and description as displayed by Google in the search engine results pages. They are really quite small limits. I can't think what they are off the top of my head, because 2 or 3 years ago I'd have been able to tell you exactly how many characters was best practice in terms of being fairly certain that Google would display them and in their entirety. But that has changed a little bit over the last few years, and I know that now it's something to do with the number of pixels that they take up in a screen rather than the number of characters. Which I assume is probably something to do with stuff being viewed on different size screens and having to be responsive. But anyway, whatever, irrelevant. So the way I've been actually doing that is opening a new post in WordPress where I've got the plugin called SEO Press installed. One of the things that SEO Press does, and in fact it's just about the only thing that I currently use it for, is it measures how long your title and description are and gives you a warning if you've gone over these pixel limits. So I'm writing the title and description in there, and if it passes there, then I know that obviously it's good for those meta tags themselves, but it's also going to be good for every other platform because it will fit into all of the other fields. So that's that plan. And that's about all I need to tell you, apart from the fact that I just hacked through a bit more of this documentation of this this process. And in so doing, I was uploading some videos to YouTube. That's part of the process that I was going through yesterday, figuring out the best and quickest way of doing that. And as part of the testing, I uploaded a couple of cat videos to YouTube, which I appreciate dominate that space, generally speaking. They were only there as tests. I can't remember what I was testing now, but I just decided to leave them there in the end. So if you're bored of listening to me droning on about attempts to create a business and you're watching this on YouTube, go into the channel and find the gratuitous cat videos. They're my cats, they're very cute. They're about 6 years old. They're called Albie and Blaze. So go and have a watch. I'll leave them up. So that's going to be it for today. See you tomorrow.